Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. So, if you're new to the channel, or you just want to recap how I review this book, is that I am going to give a general overview of how I liked it, any disadvantage, anything like that. And I'm going to take 5 chapters, and I'm going to break down why I liked them, why I didn't, and then I will give a conclusion to my review, and then I will give a score. So, to start off, we're going to give our general overview, which is that I really liked how the plot was carefully set up, as well as it kind of built on this kind of mystery kind of genre, especially a bit more than the others have. And the book felt a bit more personal in terms of it had to do with Harry's parents, especially his father James, and his friends from school, which obviously you don't learn until midway through the book, because you begin with expecting it to be more like a kind of similar thing to the other books, like the previous ones, where it's been something to do with Voldemort, and later down the line you feel like it's all to do with Voldemort. But this one actually kind of strays away from that, because it doesn't end up being all about Voldemort at all. He's barely mentioned. Obviously, people think that Sirius Black is a big supporter of here, but he's never physically there. And I kind of like that. Obviously, I like the other novels as well. I just like this one, how it's a bit manages to stray away from Voldemort. Not entirely, but a decent amount, while still holding his kind of presence. It also introduces one of my favourite characters, which is Lupin. I feel like he's a very well written character. But the only disadvantage of this book is the fact that it includes time travel, which I feel like can lessen the ending of a book. Yeah, but we'll get into that in a bit. So I'm going to take 5 chapters. The first one we're going to start off with is the Dementor. I like this chapter because it introduces, of course, the Dementors. And I feel that they are a very well done creature in the series, because it kind of personifies that kind of like sadness, and you can really understand how they work, as well as the kind of sense of dread that they bring upon the characters that they come into contact with. Not only this, but that chapter also introduces Lupin, which, as I said, great character. And it kind of, before he even gets to Hogwarts, it creates that kind of like competency to his character already, especially as he gives Harry chocolate, because he knows exactly what you need after a Dementor attack. And so, for once, the defense against the dark arts position seems to be filled by a character that actually knows what they're doing, which is a nice thing. We're going to switch over to the second chapter I'm going to talk about, which is the Boggart in the Wardrobe. This, once again, as I was speaking in the last chapter, adds more to Lupin's character, and kind of brings again that competency to him. And as I said, especially in the defense against the dark arts position, the teacher actually now seems like he knows what he's doing. Because Quill kind of did, but he was always seemed to be like kind of timid and like afraid, whereas Lupin seems to know exactly what he wants to do. And not only this, especially as he kind of stands in the way of Harry to stop him from tackling the Boggart, he is aware of Harry as a person and kind of understands his past, and doesn't like, it's not him kind of like trying to talk down to him. It's more of like a understanding of each other, which is quite nice. Obviously, later it takes like a couple of chapters for Harry to realise why he did that. But it's just that kind of care that he has, not just for Harry, but for the rest of the class, because obviously no one wants to see Voldemort just appear in the middle of the classroom. If we switch chapter now, we're going to talk about the Marauders Map. I like this chapter because it introduces, obviously, the map, which comes into play quite a lot throughout the rest of the series. And also, it gives, especially when in Hogsmeade, when they go into the 3 broomsticks and they learn more about Sirius Black, because I like how it adds this kind of detail to him and gives more of a reason for Harry to hate him, because previously in the book things have been stated like, he should be hated, like especially Malfoy like teases him saying I would want revenge and things like that, and Harry has no idea what he's on about. But it kind of gives like validifies that kind of hatred, which is quite nice. Obviously, that is then gone against later, in this next chapter I'm going to talk about, which is chapter Mooney, Wormtail, Padfoot and Prongs. I like this chapter specifically because I like the kind of friendship that is between those characters. Wormtail obviously not so much, but when they were at school, it was kind of like a nice thing, especially with Lupin, who was a werewolf, and they like turned into Animago to kind of help him and kind of be with him whilst he is a werewolf. And I just like the fact that they managed to add character to his father, who has been dead for he's dead, but they still managed to add kind of a bit of character to him, as well as the kind of friendship that is there. And it continues to like slowly progress in terms of suspense and kind of that kind of mystery that's been promised since the first is like keeps going, which is very nice. And we're going to switch to the last chapter, or the second to last chapter, which is Hermione's Secret. This manages to round off the novel as a whole, because everything seems to have gone wrong, and it manages to bring back at least a little bit of positivity. I like the fact that Harry doesn't like win, if you know what I mean, because Pettigrew escapes, and it would really annoy me a bit more. Obviously it does annoy me, I'll talk about it in a second with the whole time travel thing, but the fact that Sirius Black is still on the run, he's not been like he's not managed to clear his name, and they've not managed to correct anything to do with Buckbeak. They didn't manage to stop Peter Pettigrew from escaping, but there is some sort of positivity, which I think is alright. The only problem, like I said, with it is the fact that it uses time travel, which is a kind of like a trait I don't really like, because it kind of undermines the ending of the book, because it feels like, especially it kind of goes like previous books, it kind of makes it a bit worse in terms of like they had the ability of time travel. I just feel like it needs to be present from the beginning and done in such a way that it's just a hard thing to get right, and I don't think JK Rowling managed to nail it on the head with this one. So, my final conclusion to this book is that it is a great kind of whodunit kind of thing, and the plot has an excellent like pacing, apart from the last chapter, which seems kind of rushed, and obviously, like I said, it uses time travel, which is a bit of a shame. But it still managed to retain that kind of mystery throughout the book that is like promised since the first chapter, with the whole edition of Sirius Black. The novel holds up to the previous ones. It's not like a big misfire, but I preferred it. I do prefer it over some of the other ones. Just a shame they had to include time travel, and they couldn't think of a better way to get around that kind of ending. So I'm going to give this one an 82 out of 100. So I hope you've enjoyed. I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.